Iowa farmers just brought in the best soybean crop in years, yet many will lose everything. 53 bushels an acre. Perfect weather. And still, a $100 loss for every acre planted. Fields sit abandoned, debt mounts, and the world's biggest buyer is gone. How did record-breaking success turn into $1.5 billion in losses overnight? The answer starts with a single, vanished customer. What happens next could shatter rural America. Combines roll across Iowa's fields, chewing through a soybean crop that should be a triumph. Yields average 53 bushels an acre. Those are record numbers for this state. The weather cooperates from planting to harvest. Rain comes when it is needed, and disease pressure stays low. Grain bins fill fast, and for a brief moment hope flickers that this record crop might finally turn things around. Instead, a cruel math sets in. For every acre harvested, farmers face a loss of $100. The price at the elevator sits well below what it costs to grow, harvest, and haul those beans. Some producers run the numbers and park their combines. Leaving soybeans unharvested becomes a rational choice, because harvest costs only deepen the red ink. The scale of the loss is hard to grasp. A 1,000-acre farm means a 6-figure hole with no way to break even. Lance Lillibridge of the Iowa Soybean Association calls it a train wreck for growers. He watches neighbors debate whether to fill storage bins or walk away from fields entirely. The paradox is everywhere. Record yields, yet the best harvest in years brings the worst financial pain in a generation. The promise of abundance turns to anxiety. The question on every farmer's mind is simple. How do you survive when success means losing more with every load hauled to town? On paper, the numbers look simple. Soybeans bring in $9.40 a bushel at the local elevator. But the cost to grow them this year, including seed, fertilizer, chemicals, land, fuel, and repairs, totals $11.15 for every bushel pulled from the field. That is a loss of $1.75 per bushel, locked in before the first truck rolls down the gravel road. Corn tells a similar story. Corn sells for $3.75 a bushel, while $4.22 is needed just to break even. Every load hauled means another 47 cents gone. Multiply these margins across a typical Iowa farm, 1,000 acres or 2,000 acres, and the losses climb fast. A 1,000-acre operation loses $100,000. Double the acreage, double the pain. There is no easy fix. Switching from soybeans to corn does not help. Both bleed red ink. Farmers run the math and find no escape. Equipment costs keep rising, but nobody is buying new. Instead, they patch up what they have, hoping to make it through another season. The sheer volume of grain, once a sign of prosperity, now deepens the hole. Each bushel harvested widens the gap between effort and reward. Families wonder how long they can keep going when every number on the ledger is negative. China's disappearance from the United States soybean market hits Iowa like a silent wrecking ball. For years, Chinese buyers soaked up nearly half of all soybeans, leaving Iowa's fields, with hundreds of millions of bushels booked before harvest even began. In 2025, those orders never came. Not a single new crop cargo was on the books as combines rolled. Instead, Chinese importers struck deals with Brazil and Argentina, locking in shipments from ports thousands of miles farther south. Brazil now produces over 40% more soybeans than the United States, and filled China's needs with cheaper grain and lower tariffs. Argentinian exporters, helped by a suspended export tax, pushed even more beans onto ships bound for Chinese ports. Chad Hart, an agricultural economist at Iowa State, calls it a recipe for rough times. He points to the missing Chinese demand as the root of the price collapse. When your biggest customer walks away, you do not just lose sales, you lose the price support that keeps the whole system running. With China gone, Iowa's grain elevators overflow. Farmers haul in record yields, but there is nowhere for the crop to go. Storage bins fill to the brim. The cost of holding unsold beans mounts, with monthly storage fees, interest on operating loans, and the risk that prices fall even further. Some growers gamble, waiting for a late-season rebound. Others face the hard truth: there are no buyers at a price that covers their costs. The world's largest soybean importer has turned its back, and the market left behind is glutted, stagnant, and unforgiving. Pressure on Iowa's farm economy does not stay on the farm. When prices collapse and buyers vanish, the entire grain handling system starts to buckle. Grain elevators fill with unsold soybeans. The risk runs deeper than full bins. Every bushel sitting in storage is a promise waiting to be paid. That promise depends on a chain of contracts and credit, running from local elevators to regional grain dealers, and finally to end users around the world. With China absent from the U.S. market for months, that chain is stretched to its limit. Dealers who once moved millions of bushels now face mounting obligations and shrinking cash flow. If a buyer defaults or a contract falls through, the impact ripples outward. Farmers who delivered grain on credit can find themselves unpaid, their harvests locked in limbo. In past crises, when grain dealers failed, state indemnity funds were the last line of defense. Minnesota's emergency fund, created after the 1980s farm crisis, stands as a reminder of what is at stake when the system fails. Farmers are left with empty promises and a stack of unpaid receipts. In 2025, as storage costs mount and the market stays glutted, the threat of insolvency moves from theory to daily worry. Bankers and co-ops watch dealer balance sheets with growing unease. The infrastructure that once moved Iowa's harvest to the world now shows signs of strain, each link in the chain exposed by the absence of China's demand. For every dollar lost on the farm, the risk of a broader payment collapse grows. A price slump can become a full-blown credit crisis. Werner Hosek stands in his machine shed, surrounded by tractors and combines that have seen too many seasons. The price of parts has jumped 50%, forcing him to patch and weld instead of replace. New equipment sits unsold at dealerships. Tractor sales are down 13%. Combined sales are nearly cut in half. No one can justify spending $500,000 on a new machine when every acre bleeds money. The only option is to keep old iron running with whatever is at hand. Across the county, David Weaver faces a different wall. For 20 years, his bank renewed his operating loan without question. This spring, the answer was no. The numbers did not work. The Federal Reserve in Kansas City reports farm incomes falling and loan repayments dropping across the Midwest. Lenders have started to pull back, and for families like Weaver's, the line between survival and insolvency is razor thin. Bankruptcy filings stack up in courtrooms across the Midwest. In the first quarter of 2025, national farm bankruptcies nearly doubled, 88 cases compared to 45 the year before. Iowa stands near the top, with 16 filings in just 6 months, already twice as many as all of last year. Attorney Joseph Pfeiffer calls it extreme financial distress, the highest he has seen in decades. The pain is not abstract. Iowa's economy shrank by more than 6% in the first quarter alone, the worst drop in the country. Every dollar a farmer loses drags down 7 more in the local economy. Federal aid, even at $80 billion nationwide, barely scratches the surface. Aaron Lehman of the Iowa Farmers Union says families feel the stress in every decision. 80% of Iowa farmers now say it feels like the 1980s all over again. Today, Iowa's farm crisis is not just statistics. It is families, communities, and a way of life on the brink. Global markets are shifting, and rural banks are closing. The future of American agriculture hangs in the balance. What happens here will shape our food, our economy, and our identity.